And the senators in the Congress, of course, enact legislation and make speeches and enact legislation because we're going to find that the idea of patriotism, the idea of the flag, the idea of America first, God bless America, all these are going to be modified necessarily because we will be allied with people who are not American, who have got our flag, who don't trust in God, who are not one nation under God, who don't want anything like that. They're not even Christians. This is all going to be a big change for us, and it's coming. It's coming. We have, of course, throughout the academia of America, we have a set of people who are atheists already, and who eschew all religion, and consider that religion should have no part whatever, and religious morality should have no part whatever in the education of anybody, high schooler or college grad. And they're going to have a field day, because that's the type of education which is coming. And I can see many parents saying, no, I can't send my child to the public school. But the laws on homeschooling and public schooling may change, and they may be forced to. And it may come to the point that you'll have to be a heroic Christian to rear a Christian family. These are dire changes, Noah, and they bode a change in the political winds, the political behavior of this country. And it also means that local politics at the state level and at the city level and national politics at the Washington level is going to be modified. We will no longer be acting as a superpower. We'll be acting as members of a vast new arrangement of nations. Sure, we'll be one of the biggest for a while anyway, unless this recession goes backwards and catches us off guard and sends us into a depression, which some people think. I'm not going to talk about that because I'm not an economist. But we will only be one of many, and we will be bending to rules made to suit the many, not to suit us exclusively. And this is going to affect the right we have to bear arms. It's going to affect the way we travel. It's going to affect the prices of our food and the currency with which we pay for that food. There are big changes coming, and we're not ready for it as the population.
How about the economic system or the financial system that you spoke about on a former program? How about the unit of exchange?
Well, the unit of exchange, it's an open secret, spoken about in banking circles. They already have figured out a unit of change, and they already have even samples printed what it's like. We're going to have a common unit of change you can use here or in France or in Russia. They have to. Because the idea of convertibility, converting rubles into yen or marks or francs or dollars, the accounting systems in all these countries are different. They're not together. And then you must remember that each of the satellite countries of Eastern Europe have a different currency from each other. Each one has a different one. And there's no homogeneity between in the convertibility rules. So that's all a mishmash that must be solved by a single stroke, creating a new currency and abolishing all the others.
When I was in China this past month, I picked up one edition of the China Daily, and there on the front page, and I still have the paper, it's on my desk, it says China ready to enter the New World Order.
That's right. China's going to enter. China's the big problem because the leadership is aging, the population is growing, it's a huge population in spite of the strenuous efforts at birth control, the killing of babies and abortion, the exposure of female babies, etc. It's still going on. But in spite of all that, it is, and it's taken to capitalism far faster than the Russians have, and it's going to compete long before the Russians compete. One major difficulty arises from the fact that it has a common border, 4,000 miles long, with the Soviet Union, and they're both armed to the teeth. And unless something is done, that will be the next area in which Mr. James Baker should exercise himself, or will probably exercise himself. Unless something is done to create a better climate between those two countries, there's going to be trouble. But I'll tell you, Noah, I'm a believer. And I know that my God created this world to be saved, not to be ruined. And he sent his only begotten Son to effect a spiritual salvation of all men, in mercy and goodness and compassion and forgiveness of sin. I know all that. I'm not preaching at you, I'm just telling you my opinion and my beliefs. And I believe that somehow or other, in spite of the dangers encroaching on them, in spite of the red menace of China, and in spite of its horrible dictatorship, in spite of the persistent communism and Marxism of the Soviet apparatus, which is still there, let's not fool ourselves, and in spite of the fact that in every town and hamlet throughout the satellite countries, as in Russia, as in all the Russian republics, communists are still in power and still running the country. In spite of that fact, and in spite of the corruption we have in our souls in the West, we're corrupted by our wealth and our luxury and our pride. In spite of all that corruption, East and West, I think God will draw out of this a salvation for men. Do you understand me? But we will have to pay a price. God always exacts a price. We pay our dues. And I think that's where we're heading. In the next few years, we're going to pay our dues. One way or the other, we're going to pay them.
We read in Revelation 11:18 concerning the return of the Lord Jesus Christ that he is not coming back to destroy the world, but to save the world from those who would destroy it.
That's exactly it. Because remember, you're a good Bible man, Noah. You know the mark of Satan is death.
Yes.
When God was admonishing Adam and Eve, he said, don't touch that tree, because if you do, you will die the death. And the sign of Satan, the real sign of Satan's presence and effectivity and success, is where death reigns. Death of the body and death of the soul.
Now, in your book, you speak about the struggle between the West and the East for control of the New World Order, or who's going to be the main power chief, who's going to run the show. What is the motivation for President Bush in all this? We know that he's has been a member of the Skull and Bones. If that has any significance.
No, I think in this matter that we must regard President Bush. He's a very clever politician. There's no doubt about that. And he's a very clever diplomat. And he has vast experience in China, at home with the CIA, and in government as vice president, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's a tough man. This man has a very tough face, and he deals ruthlessly with a situation. He doesn't always seem to make a moral judgment. He seems just to make a political judgment, but whatever. In the whole matter of the New World Order, he's a spokesman. He's a point man, nothing more. Because his actions must be dictated by those who finally have the source of power in the present materialistic world, money. And finally it is they who say this is the way it will go, or that's the way it will go. He is the political leader and spokesman for the wise men of the West, as they call them. The wise and strong men and rich men of the West. And he is spokesman for them. His membership of various groups has educated him one way or the other in this or that or the other. He was a member of the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Affairs, as all our public figures and personages and diplomats are and have been for the last 50 years. So that's merely a common trait he shares with everybody. There's no doubt about it that is the body of opinion which is shaping America's policy and shaping America's future and shaping the future of the world. But at that stage, we're talking about a transnational mentality, Noah. No longer American, no longer European, no longer African, no longer Asiatic, no longer Soviet, no longer Russian. It's this new thing, a frightening concept of a transnational mind, not tied to one country. It's a frightening thing to think that there's going to be no difference between the men of Tokyo and the men of New York, or the men of Miami, or the men of Oklahoma City. Finally, they will all be the same, because we're used to the differences. And one of the big difficulties Americans have in settling down to their present moment is that we no longer have an enemy. Hey.
We read that God divided the nation and set the bounds of their habitation. Do you think this New World Order then is a violation of God's edict for human government?
Oh, I think that the New World Order in its concept is a violation of God's will, chiefly because it's not seeking God's will. He's willing to allow us have a certain amount of free will, but in the final count he arranges everything. He's the Lord of history. And he manages to take all the loose threads and schemes of history and bind them together into the marvelous fabric of his salvation. It's the mystery of predestination. It's the mystery of God's will. It's the mystery of his administration of the world. Now, if men get together and they They recreate the human family, and they gather them together in a new economic and financial structure that spans all nations and all races and all languages. And in that spanning structure, he is not honored, he is not venerated, his will is not thought, and his values are not honored. What do you think he's going to do? Well, what he did at the Tower of Babel.
Yes, I would like to refer to the second Psalm. I think that illustrates exactly what you are talking about. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us.
That's exactly it. You've quoted the right text.
Well, Malachi, I see our time is gone.
Yes, unfortunately, the only thing we capitalists can't buy, Noah, is time.
Yeah. Yes. But it's been a delight to have you on our program. Your insight into the political, financial, and religious affairs of this present world leading to the New World Order, I think have been fascinating and very profound, and we
Oh, no, I hope so. May God bless and be with you in the meantime.
Well, thank you, sir.
God bless you, Noah.